Hello friends, welcome back. Myself Pushpender Singh, and we are going to start with our daily current affairs. So today we have 2nd of June 2021. I do know that these lectures are useful for those who are preparing for the civil services examination, which is conducted by the UPSC, as well as other government competitive examinations. And for that purpose, we are referring the two national newspapers. The first is the Hindu, and the second is Indian Express. You can also refer these two national newspapers for your preparation, and you can supplement your preparation with the help of these lectures. So you can subscribe our channel on the YouTube for these lectures. Alright, so let's begin with the lecture. Okay, so first news is all about the Satat scheme. The Satat means the sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation. Okay, this scheme was launched by the government of India, okay, specifically by the Union Ministry of Petroleum and the Natural Gas, right? So recently the Union Minister for the Petroleum and the Natural Gas have held this virtual ceremony, right, on the Satat initiative, and which has expanded the scope, right, of the Satat initiative, or the number of initiatives have been expanded under Satat scheme. So here the number of MOUs, or the number of signing of the cooperation agreements, was signed between various, the government of India's PSUs. For example, the major oil and gas, PSUs like Indian Oil, HPCL, BPCL, GAIL, IGL, right, for the purpose of expanding the scope as well as the initiatives under the Satat scheme. So now let us understand what are other, the basics related to the Satat scheme. So Satat scheme is basically, all about the setting up of the compressed biomass production plants, as well as the compressed biomass gas availability in the market for the use of as a green fuel, because you have a lot of problems related to the current the availability of the crude oil, because you have issues related to the carbon footprints or the greenhouse gas emissions, which is liberating in the atmosphere, which is affecting the climate change. So here the Satat scheme, or sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation, is basically is an initiative, right, for the purpose of setting up of these compressed biogas production plants. So here the compressed biogas production plant will be set up, and that will be available in the market for the use of automotive fuels, right. Here this scheme was, or this initiative was launched in 2018, definitely by the Ministry of Petroleum and the Natural Gas, with association with different type of PSUs, like I told you, Indian Oil Corporation, Bharat Petroleum Corporation, and Hindustan Petroleum Corporation. Here what we are talking about is biogas, or compressed biogas. So biogas, all you know about the biogas, is basically is produced naturally through the process of anaerobic decomposition from the waste. Okay, so it is being produced through the anaerobic decomposition. The anaerobic decomposition means in the absence of oxygen, okay. So here, with the decomposition of the biomass, you have different type of biomass, right, like the agriculture residue, the cattle dung, the sugarcane residue, the municipal solid waste, even the sewage treatment plant waste, right, all such, the residue, or all such, the waste which is available, right, after their purification, it is compressed, and it has been used for the purpose of the biogas production. Okay, now when it is compressed, this gas, it is called, the biogas, or it is called basically the compressed biogas, which is basically has the pure methane content, right. It has almost 95% of the methane. This compressed biogas, which is exactly similar to the commercially available natural gas, which is available in the market, okay, and in terms of its composition, in terms of its energy potential also. For example, its calorific value is almost 52,000 kilojoule per kg. It is almost similar to the natural gas which is available in the market, okay. And it is in terms of other properties, it can be used as an alternative to to the natural gas which is available in the market, as well as it can be used as a renewable automotive fuel also. So here the potential for the compressed biogas production from various sources in India is as per you know as per the government of India's record is 62 million tons per annum. That means we could produce 62 million tons per annum with the help of the agriculture residue, cattle dung, sugarcane press, municipal solid waste, or sewage treatment plant. The Satat, which is launched in 2018, as I told you, that the main purpose of the target of production of the 15 million metric tons of the compressed biogas from 5,000 plants by 2023 for that purpose. Okay, so here the compressed biomass that we are talking, or compressed biogas that we are talking, right, which is the plants which are proposed to set up mainly through some sort of an independent entrepreneurship. Okay, so here this CBG which is produced at the plants will be transported through the the cascades of the cylinders. Okay, here 1,500 strong CNG stations network which are available in our country currently serves around 32 lakh gas based vehicles. So here this entrepreneur would be able to separately market the other products from these plants, right, including this biomanure, carbon dioxide, etc., to enhance this investment for the purpose. Okay, and here the minister also laid the foundation stone to 5 upcoming the compressed biogas plants for the purpose of the biogas availability, and also he has inaugurated the first injection of this compressed biogas. Okay, specifically for the CGD pipeline networks, specifically at Govardhanji Energies into the Gujarat Gas CGD network at Nadiad Kheda district of Gujarat. What is this CGD pipeline? See, this CGD pipeline that we are talking, it refers to the transportation or the distribution of natural gas to the consumers in the domestic, or commercial or industrial, any other sectors. So here you will have the networks of the pipeline which will carry the natural gas to the consumers. You might have seen also in your cities, in the major cities, this network of the pipelines specifically to carry the natural gas have been already laid. So here the CGD, which is nothing but the basically the transfer of this natural gas through with the help of these pipes, which will be distributed to the consumers specifically at the downstream segment. So almost 40 such companies across the country is working for such distribution of this gas, specifically the natural gas, to the downstream sector. Okay. Next, the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Package Yojana, which is being extended to the insurance scheme for the health and workers fighting under COVID-19. So here, as you know that the union government has notified that this Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Package, right, would be extended to the insurance, would be extended as an insurance scheme for the purpose of health workers which are fighting the COVID-19 for 1 year, right, with the effect from 24th of April 2021. So here, the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Package, which was announced on the March 2020, it was announced on the March 2020. It was extended till 24th of April 2021. It was launched specifically to provide the safety net to the health workers. Okay, to ensure that in case of any adversities, okay, due to the COVID-19, when they are specifically working with the healthcare sector, their families are basically taken care of that. And this scheme is basically implemented through the insurance policy from the National Insurance or New India Assurance Company, which is the government of India's undertaking. So here that we are talking about this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Package. So under this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Package, okay, specifically different initiatives have been launched. The first such initiative is the 50 lakh, the insurance cover per healthcare workers, specifically for those who are fighting for this COVID-19 would be given. Second, the 80 crore poor people will get 5 kgs of wheat and the rice, right? Or they will be given the 1 kg of the pulse for free of cost, for every month for the next 3 months. The another initiative that was launched under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Package was 20 crore women, specifically their Jan Dhan account holders, to get 500 rupees per month for the next 3 months as a pension. Okay. Then under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Package, there is also the provision of increase in MG Narega wages, right, to 202 rupees per day. This 202 rupees per day that we are talking about, the wage for the MG Narega worker, that has been increased from 182 rupees per day. Okay, that will basically benefit around 13.62 crore beneficiaries which are working under MGNREGA. The other benefit or other, the package which was announced under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana is that, ex gratia of around 1000 rupees would be provided to 3 crore poor senior citizens, right? Or as well as the poor widows or poor disabled people, right? As well as the government also would pay around 2000 rupees to the farmers in the first week of April, okay, under the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Yojana. A lot of other packages have been involved under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package. Okay, the aim is to provide here under this insurance schemes to provide 50 lakh rupees to per healthcare workers who are basically working with that COVID-19 related the work specifically that will be paid for that purpose. Okay, next, the health schemes. Here the government of India, right, have initiated various health schemes for the purpose of the central government health scheme, right, as the umbrella schemes like Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi, as well as the health minister's discretionary grant on the National Health Authority's IT platform. All these health schemes have been integrated for the purpose of providing the cashless, paperless and citizen-centric services to the people. Okay, now let us understand the central government health scheme. So this central government health scheme is basically a comprehensive health scheme as it is written over there for the purpose of the employees, pensioners, member of parliament, ex-member of parliaments also, right, as well as the dependent family members. So here, this scheme, which was launched almost 6 decades back, okay, it was launched in 1954 in New Delhi. Now it has covered almost 72 cities. Okay, initially it was not there, it was just covered in the few cities, but over the period of the time it was covered to the 72 cities. It provides comprehensive medical care to the central government employees, right, to the pensioners which are enrolled under the scheme. So here it will category or it will caters to the need of the healthcare needs of specifically the eligible beneficiaries, which cover almost all 4 pillars of the democracy, right, whether they are the members of the judiciary, legislature, executive or even press also. So here the CGHS is a model healthcare facility provider for the central government employees and the pensioners, which is unique of its kind. Okay, and it has covered almost 72 cities. Now currently it is working, it has almost covered to the 74 cities, right, and it is been endeavored to provide almost all type of services to those people, specifically in the different systems of the medicine like allopathic, homeopathic, Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha and etc. Okay, and it will be available to all dispensaries and the wellness centers, right, which will also issue some sort of an online referral to the empaneled hospital for that purpose. Second is Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi. The Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi that we are talking is basically, Dr. Harshvardhan, who is also the Union Minister for the Health, have expanded this the ambit of the Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi, and under this the financial assistance of around 15 lakh rupees will be provided to the poor patients which are suffering from the chronic disease or life-threatening disease like cancer, rare disease for the medical treatments at the government and empaneled hospitals. Okay, regarding Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi, it was set up as a resolution, right, by the government of India, which is registered under the Society Registration Act 1860. So this Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi is nothing but a society, okay, which has been set up under the Society Registration Act, okay, 1860. Now this RAN or Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi that we are talking was to set up to provide the financial assistance to the patients who are living below poverty line and who were suffering from the major life-threatening diseases, right, and that to receive some sort of a medical treatment at any of those super specialty hospitals or the institutes or the government hospital. So here the financial assistance will be provided, released as a one-time grant. This will be released to the medical superintendent of the hospitals, right, in which the treatment have been receiving by these patients. So it is based on some sort of a criteria like the state or union territory based BPL threshold, which is being also as a eligibility under this Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi. And here getting a the BPL certificate or state specific BPL certificate is basically from the competent authorities remain a time consuming process, and many people basically remain out of this ambit of Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi for that purpose. The next is the health minister discretionary grant, right? So here the health minister discretionary grant that we are talking, okay, here it is available from 2013 onward. Now it will be given to the poor people, specifically the poor indigent patients, from the health minister discretionary grant to defray, a part of the expenditure on the hospitalization or the treatment, specifically in the government hospitals, right, where the free medical facilities are not available, so under health minister discretionary fund, a maximum amount of 1,25,000 is being provided to those patients. And here the beneficiaries may apply to the financial assistance under these schemes by providing some sort of their ration cards or beneficiary verification process that will be done at the MPanel hospital for those purpose. Okay. Next, the KP Krishnan Expert Committee. Okay, so here the KP Krishnan Expert Committee was set up by the International Finance Services Centers Authority. Okay, to explore the potential for the variable capital company. Okay, to explore or to give recommendations for setting up of this variable capital company, right, which is being recently regarded as the most important aspect for this for international finance service centers. So this KP Krishnan committee have gone through or would go through various issues related to the variable capital company, right, have submitted report to the feasibility of setting up of this variable capital companies in international finance service centers, specifically in India. And for that purpose, the government of India or the International Finance Services Centers Authority is considering the report which has been recently submitted by the KP Krishnan committees on the variable capital company. Now let us understand briefly about first of all this International Finance Services Centers Authority, which have set up this the KP Krishnan Expert Committee on the variable capital company. So this International Finance Services Centers Authority, okay, it has been established in 2020 only, very recently, under the International Finance Service Centers Authority Act 2019, which have been passed by the Parliament. Okay, it has been headquartered in the GIFT City in the Gandhinagar in Gujarat. Okay, now that we are talking about this IFSCA or International Financial Services Center Authority, right? It was set up for the purpose of the unified authority for the development and the regulation of the financial products, the financial services, as well as the financial institutions in international finance service centers. Okay, so at present this is being set up, or at present the GIFT IFSC is the maiden international finance centers in India. Okay. Next, regarding this international finance service centers, right? This international finance service centers caters to the customers which are outside the jurisdiction of the domestic economy. Okay, that basically deals with the some of the issues like the flow of the finance products, as well as various services across the borders. So Gujarat International Finance Tax City Company Limited, or the GIFT City that we are talking, the Gujarat International Finance Tax City or the GIFT City, is being developed as the country's first international finance service center. Okay, and just like on the lines of the London, New York, and the Singapore, which is also having the global financing centers. So the GIFT City of the Gujarat is the standalone, the international finance service center in our country. What is the purpose, or what are the services which are given by these international finance service centers? So first of all, they provide a lot of services like fundraising services for the individual, for the corporation, for the governments. Okay, they will also provide services like asset management, global portfolio diversifications, right, the wealth management, global tax management, right, the tax liability optimization, right, the treasury management, the operations which are related to the fundraising, liquidity investment, risk management operations, various other services have been provided under this. Now let us understand what is this that we are talking about, mainly about this variable capital company. So this variable capital company that we are talking about is basically having this structure which depends on some of the key limitations of the companies, as well as the limited liability partnerships, right? And such the VCC would provide the higher regulatory standard than those which is applicable to the trust. So here the variable capital company that is being we are asking is an alternative form of the corporate vehicle. Okay, and it will be available for the collective investment scheme. Presently the organization structure to this, to specifically to the companies or limited partnership, right? Or the unit trust structures are basically variable. So BCC can be used for both open-ended, close-ended alternative, or the traditional in the fund strategy for that purpose. Okay, and it will have some sort of a flexibility in terms of the capitals, right? In terms of the investment which are made, in terms of the shares which are created, right? Which can be readily redeemable by the stakeholders for that purpose. So here the kind of flexibility was lacking in the existing, the vehicles of the corporation which are available under the Company Act. And for that purpose, the variable capital company would provide you a lot of scope for the purpose. And this committee basically stress on the features of this variable capital company also, and its equivalents which are already available in some other countries like UK, Singapore, and Ireland and Luxembourg also. Okay, so the VCC, which is having the variable capital structure and provide you a lot of flexibility, okay, in terms of the issuance, in terms of redemption of these shares. It will provide, the dividends out of capital, which can give you fund managers flexibility to meet the dividend payments obligations also. But the committee also recommended that adoption of this VCC like legal structure for the purpose of the fund management activities, specifically in the international finance service centers. Okay, and committee basically recognized that a legal framework or legal governing framework is basically necessitated for the purpose of the fund management, which would be given under this VCC framework, right? So VCC structure basically dispense with some of the key limitations of the companies. Okay, and it will be, it will be one of the greatest steps that would be taken for the purpose of this flexibility which are offered by this VCC in our country. Okay, next you have Littoria mira. Littoria mira is a basically new species of the frog which have been recently been discovered in the rainforest of the New Guinea, right? Which appear to be made from the chocolate. Okay, so first of all, this cocoa colored or chocolate colored frog species, which are turned out to be the new species of the frog, and it is also called the Littoria mira, and it has been inspired by, the Latin mirum, or which have been, having some sort of a strange or the surprised, appearance, and it has been given surprise to the scientists specifically to belongs to some sort of a Australian Littoria genus of the tree frog species. So here the Littoria mira, which is inspired by, by the adjective miram, which means some sort of a surprise or the strange, right? Which is being, which is being related to the Australian Littoria genus of the tree frogs, specifically which are found on the tree. So this species of the frog, which lives specifically in, specifically in the rainforest of the New Guinea, which appears to be made from the chocolate, right? Or it is having some sort of a cocoa color. So this chocolate frog, which have been recently been discovered from one of the worst or one of the world's most unpleasant places, that is the rainforest for the humans. And this rainforest, as you know, is basically, are very having the swampy forested area, which is almost having the malarial mosquitoes and lot of other difficulties, where the human habitation cannot be survived, or here the exploration cannot be survived for that purpose. Okay, if you just see the Littoria mira, right, which is a relative to the tree frog of the Australian called the Littoria, cerulean. This is basically, somewhat related to this Littoria ceruleum, which is basically the tree frog found in Australia. If you see the two frogs, the Littoria mira and Littoria ceruleum, both frogs look similar, okay, except the color of their skins, right? So here the Littoria ceruleum is basically the brownish color, right? It's a basically greenish color, okay. But here the Littoria mira is basically, having some sort of a cocoa color, okay. So Littoria mira can be distinguished from all other Littorias in terms of their appearance, in terms of their normal combinations, which having some sort of a moderately large size, okay, which is relatively short and robust limbs, and which is also having the smaller violet patch of the skin on the edge of this eyes. Okay, so here we are talking about this frog. Okay, next, One Nation, One Standard mission. So here the One Nation, One Standard mission was basically, initiated, by the Union Minister for the Railways, Commerce, Industry and Consumer Affairs, Mr. Piyush Goyal, specifically as a part of the Bureau of Indian Standard. So here, one nation, one standard, right? This is a mission to make India as a leader in specifically setting up of this global benchmarks in setting standards. So here, right, as per the Piyush Goyal, the lab testing in India should be, as per the world standard, the modern equipments and latest technology should be used over there. Okay, any sort of a gap which is related to those standards, right, which is related to the global standards as well as the standards which are adopted by the by the BIS or the government labs would be taken up for the priority basis, right? And all areas, all production in the services will be included under this mission, that is one nation, one standard mission. So here, recently, the Research Design Standard Organization. The Research Design Standard Organization, which is located currently in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, right, is basically the research and development wing of the Ministry of Railways, or the Ministry of Railways is one of the basically the leading standard formulating body. Okay, now which have taken the standardization work for the railway sector, have become the first institution to be recognized as a SDO. To recognize a SDO means Standard Developing Organization. Standard Developing Organization, okay, under one nation, one standard mission of the Bureau of Indian Standard. Okay, the main purpose of this one nation, one standard, right, is to basically to have the uniform set of the standards, right, to embark to make in India a leader in terms of the global benchmarks in terms of the setting of the standards. Okay, and here the Research Design and Standard Organization belongs to the Ministry of Railways, have won this standard developmental organization for the purpose of one nation, one card mission of the Bureau of Indian Standard. Okay, so here the Bureau of Indian Standard is basically aiming at aggregating and integrating the existing capabilities and the domain specific expertise which is available in the various organizations of the countries for the purpose of this one nation, one standard mission. Okay, here the Research Design and Standard Organization is a research and development wing of the Ministry of Railways, have been won this the standard developing organization as a tag for the purpose of standardizing work for the railway sector for that purpose under one nation, one standard mission. All right, next, the dairy sector. So here the Union Minister for the Fisheries and Animal Husbandry and Dairying, right, Mr. Giriraj Singh. Giriraj Singh is basically currently the Union Minister for the Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and the Dairying, basically chaired a virtual program which has been organized on the occasion of the World Milk Day. Every year the World Milk Day is celebrated on the June or the first day of June. Okay, so under this World Milk Day, right, on the occasion of that, the minister basically announced the launch of the national awards for the cattle dairy sectors, specifically under the Gopal Ratna Awards. Okay, this Gopal Ratna Award that we are talking about in order to motivate the farmers for rearing the indigenous breeds or increasing the population of the indigenous breeds along with the production, their productivity. This Gopala or this Gopal Awards would be given to the farmers who maintain the best herd of the indigenous breeds or who practice the best management practices and have been instituted, right, for that purpose. And it has been instituted under Rashtriya Gokul Mission, which was also enacted or have launched by the government of India. So this award have three categories. The first award will be given for the best dairy farmer. The second award will be given for the best artificial insemination technique. The third award would be given for the best dairy cooperative or milk producer company. So here this award will be given under the three categories, right? So here eligible farmers, dairy cooperative and societies, right, they can apply for the purpose of this award online, through the online and through the portal. And this award will be open, or this portal will be open from 15th of July 2021, right, for the purpose of these winners. And that award will be announced on the 31st of October 2021 for the purpose of this dairy sector. Okay, regarding e-Gopala app, the Gopala app that we are talking is basically the generation of wealth through the productive livestock. It is basically an app which will be providing a comprehensive, the information related to the breed improvement, marketplace, the information related to the farmers, which have been launched by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 10th of September 2021. Okay, recently this e-Gopal app have been integrated with the Umang platform, right? So that almost 3.1 crore users of the Umang platform will be getting access to this e-Gopal app. This Umang basically provide the single platforms to all Indian citizens, right, to access to pan India e-government services, right, which are ranging from from the central government to the local government bodies, right, under this one. So here the 3.1 crore users of the Umang platform will get access to this e-Gopal app under this program. Okay. Next, government e-marketplace. So here the government e-marketplace is basically it's a platform or it's a public procurement portal which have been launched by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, right? And for the purpose of for the purpose of taking all services, all public procurement of the goods and services, right, would be done through online, online through this market, right, where almost all public sector and enterprises or CPSUs would be empowered to use this government e-marketplace so that they could procure the goods and services through this online portal. So now the Union Minister of Commerce, Industry and Consumer Affairs, Mr. Piyush Goyal, have expanded the scope and the aspects related to the participants on the government e-marketplace, so that the more products and the services will be applicable under this e-marketplace or government e-marketplace. So here it is basically an online portal or online marketplace where in one side you will have the central public sector undertakings and another side you will have the service providers, so that online procurement of these goods and services would be taken place through this government e-marketplace platform. Okay, and it has been developed by the Directorate General of Supplies, and disposal with the technical support of the National E-Governance Division with the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Okay, so it is the logo for the government e-marketplace. Next, the production linked incentive scheme for the pharmaceutical. As you know that India is one of the largest, the generic drug, manufacturer destination. But in Indian case, we are producing the low quality, the generic drugs. Almost all patented or high quality, the critical drugs have been imported even by the India from the other Western countries. So in order to increase the ambit of this pharmaceutical industries in our country, in order to diversify those pharmaceutical industries in our country, the government of India has basically issued the operational guidelines for the purpose of the production linked incentive scheme to the pharmaceutical. So here the pharmaceutical manufacturer would be given the production linked incentives, right, so that they will be incentivized based on the production in order to diversify the pharmaceutical sector in our country. So it will be open to the applications specifically from the industry, right? Definitely the aim of this production linked incentive scheme is to enhance the manufacturing capabilities by increasing the investment and the production, specifically in the market, in the basically pharmaceutical sector, to produce diversification of these high value goods. Okay, because as I told you that we have very high amount of these generic drugs which are also exported to some of those countries, some of the poor countries, some of the middle class countries. But the point is that still some of the critical drugs are being imported by the India, and for the purpose of the diversification, this production linked incentive scheme is of greater boon, and it has been notified, right, as a scheme on the 3rd March of 2021 as a production linked incentive scheme for the purpose of pharmaceuticals, and it will have the approved outlay of around 15,000 crore rupees for the purpose of that one. Okay, and the applications which are invited under 3 groups or 3 categories of the groups, which are based on the global manufacturer or global manufacturing revenue for the purpose of 2019-20 financial year, for the purpose of selecting those applications. Okay, and for the purpose of the micro, small and medium enterprises have been kept under the scheme as a special emphasis, special focus for the purpose of their diversification also. And here the applicants will have to submit through the online portal which are maintained by the SIDBI, which is basically a project management agency for the purpose of this scheme. Okay, and here the eligible products for the production linked incentive scheme for the pharmaceuticals are basically categorized into 3 categories. Okay, and these products which are categorized into 3 categories are basically specifically related to the formulations, biopharmaceuticals, active pharmaceutical ingredients, the key starting materials, the drug intermediaries, as well as various diagnostic medication devices. So these three categories of these products, which are categorized into the three segments, which are basically getting different types of incentives from the government of India. For example, in category 1 and category 2 types of products will attract 10% incentives. Okay, in the category 3 products, they will be attracted around 5% of the incentives on the incremental sale on those products. So here the incremental sales of the products means you must understand that the sale of the product in a year and over above the sales, which is basically specifically on the base of the financial year 2019 and 20. Okay, then last, the Army Educational Corps. The Army Educational Corps is nothing but is a program which are run by the Indian Army that develops the soldiers and the officers of all ranks, okay, in a variety of the disciplines. So here the center provides the education in both of these combat and non-combat operations. So here the Indian Army celebrated the 100th anniversary of the raising of the Army Education Corps on the 1st June 2021. Okay, the Army Education Corps of India is a program that has been done by Indian Army for the purpose of developing the soldiers and the officers of all the ranks for the purpose. And center is basically provides education to both combat and non-combat operations to the personnel which belongs to the Indian Army for that purpose. And that corps facility is located in Pachmadi in Madhya Pradesh, and it has been set up in almost in 1921. So it was almost 100 years completed by this Army Education Corps. And it is basically at that time there was mass scale of the illiteracy that was there with the Indian soldiers, but now because of higher education opportunities, this illiteracy is no longer there, but you have to provide some sort of the varieties of education to both combat and non-combat operations, to those varieties of the ranks of the soldiers as well as the officers which belong to the Indian Army for that purpose. Okay, so here it is the logo of Indian Army. That's all for today. Thank you very much. We will meet again tomorrow for next current affairs. Thank you very much.